Hi guys, Dave here. Today we're going to be taking a bit of a walk around the VariPack V165 Krone round baler. Today we are joined by Brent, who is up at our Central West shop. So together we're going to be talking through a few features on this baler and why this baler is the perfect baler for your needs. So first of all, we'll start here at the front of the machine. Brent, I don't know if you want to talk us through our roller and pickup system.
So this machine uses a crop press roller, so it helps flatten the windrow out, iron out any imperfections in the row before it gets to the pickup. Once the pickup grabs it, it will then pick it up and throw it through the feeder system into the chamber. What I like about the pickups in these machines, they are camless. So you don't have as many moving parts, there's nowhere near as much to go wrong with them. You're looking at about 70% less parts in these pickups as versus any competitor. The other great thing about having a camless pickup is you can run them at about 35% faster reel speed. That translates to better product flow, also more capacity into the baler.
Beautiful. All right, let's open this door up and we'll talk through our drive system. So just unlock this. So we've got big opening doors for easy access through to the machine. And then how many drive systems we got, Brent?
There's 3 chains on these balers, all a very heavy duty chain. Another thing I like about what Krone do, the radius at which they bend their chains through is very shallow. That minimises stretch on your chain, extending the life of that chain. Maintenance on these balers with the large gears is a lot less than what you'll find on a competitor's brand.
Beautiful. What about greasing and stuff? Do we have grease banks?
There is centralised grease points on these machines. Some of these can be specced with lubrication systems, so you can put an oiling system or a greasing system on these machines. As standard from the factory, they do come with an oiler on them, and that will just run like a standard sort of an engine oil or bio oil through it, just to lubricate the chains. But from a maintenance perspective, these balers can be specced with auto grease.
What about our drive system? Do we have a drive system on both sides of this machine, or do we have an option to be able to do that?
This machine is actually has a split drive, so it comes to the gearbox at the front of the machine, which then splits the drive and brings part of your drive to the right side. The rest of the drive will go to the left side of the machine. One side of the machine will drive the pickup, the other side will drive the main chamber and the cutting system if it has a cutter in it.
With pickup system on the front, do we have a floating system on the front of the pickup, or are we running directly on our guide wheels?
Look, the pickup system's set up that you can run it on the guide wheels. Just depends on how you want to set it up. From the workshop, when we deliver one of these machines, we always set the pickup flotation. That way you're not getting too much down pressure on the pickup, and you extend the life of the pivots in the machine. We'll
move around towards the other side of the machine here. Before we get round to our left-hand side, do you want to tell us about the belts and our variable chamber system?
So this particular machine is a belt chamber, running 4 belts inside the machine. What I like about the belt system is it's gentle on the crop. You can put a lot of pressure on them, and you get minimal loss out of the chamber when you're baling short, dry crops. That being said, these will bale trickier crops like straw, which is very shiny. It takes a lot to get that started with a belt system, and it'll also handle silage. Some people say a belt baler won't do silage. I dispute that because I've seen them do it, and they'll do product that's wringing wet.
What about our stages in our round baler? So can we change the density from our core through to our outer layers?
Sure, Dave. There's 3 zones that Krone use in their machine. So you've got your centre core, which you can adjust the density on. With that centre core, if you're using a mixer or you've got stock out in the paddock, when you feed a tight core out, what actually happens is the stock don't want to eat it. Because the product's too densely bound together, they just can't pull it apart. You end up with a lot of wastage. If you can soften that core up and make it easier for the animals to eat, then they're not going to walk away from it and they're not going to leave it in the paddock. The other benefit of that too is that also if you are using the bales in a mixer, it's a lot easier on the mixer to break those bales apart. With the tri-zone system, you'll find that you can customise each bale or each crop to suit your needs. So if you are storing outside, for example, and you don't have a shed to put them in, you can increase the density on your outer layer. That will also thatch better and help weatherproofing your bales for storage outside.
Yeah, so it's just going to make that runoff of rain a lot easier with our higher packed bale. Let's open this door up and we'll have a look through. So again, big open doors, guys. With our storage for netting, so we got left and right.
Left and right storage on the net.
Yep.
One of the features I really like about these balers is the ability to not have to lift the net rolls on your shoulder and feed them over a spigot like most conventional balers do. With the Krone system, we now have what they call an easy load. That means that you're no longer having to lift and heave on big heavy rolls of net. So if I demonstrate that now, it's as simple as pulling that off its latch.
Open this front door up.
This easy load will come around to a position whereby it's in line with your net trough.
Yep, so we'll just lower this front roller down here. So we'll just lower this down so it just lifts the front of your netting up just for easy access.
So loading the net into these balers is really easy. We come to the front of the machine, we pull the release for the net trough and lower it down into the loading position. Pretty much very little effort is needed to roll the net up into where it will be dispensed from to go into the bale chamber. Then to set it back up for threading, release the lever, roll it back up into position. That is now locked. And then we just bring our brake down over the top of the roll, simple as that.
What about feeding? How are we going to feed? How easy is it?
So something I do like with these balers is the steps at the front of them. That's very, very easy for doing feeding of net. The net will come off the roll. It'll come around underneath this yellow roller. It'll feed up over the top of this silver roller and it will go down into the duck bill, which on this machine is actually engaged because the guys are doing a pre-delivery on it. To feed the net into the duck bill, there is actually a lever and you just push that lever a couple of times down to give you about 4 inches of tail, and that's as simple as it is. There's no wrapping of net, there's no extra pieces of steel or anything to feed that in and mucking around. When this machine is in its home position, the net duck bill is right about here, which makes it so easy just to reach and feed the net in. No more lifting, no more struggling, and no more battling trying to reach over the back to feed your net.
Absolutely, mate. What about lighting and stuff? So if we're working at night time and we're trying to just check the machine over or fit anything, what have we got on the machine to help us with that?
So this machine is really beautiful actually with the light system on it. So as soon as you open these doors up at night, it's got LED lights which illuminate all 3 sides of the baler. Another feature of the Krone baler is that it has the rear work lights, which are in the side covers which are open at the moment. When they're closed and in the working position, they actually illuminate the back of the baler behind the baler. So traditionally when you've had your baler on the back of a tractor with your work lights on, you get a really big dark spot behind the machine. Krone's gone the extra mile. They've put the lights on the back to eliminate that dark spot behind the machine. So you can have confidence that you can see what's going on behind you all night long.
What about, so this particular machine doesn't have any cutters or anything set up through here, knives on the machine. With our other VariPack machines, can you tell us a little bit about the knife system? How many knives we've got and what some options that we can do with those knives on the baler?
So the knife banks on these balers are protected in such a manner so if you do feed a foreign object through, the knives will retract and then return back into the working position. So it's what they call knife protection essentially. The knife banks are also selectable. You can select different numbers of knives depending on the length of chop you want. From memory, I think these machines have a theoretical chop length of about 63 millimeters.
So with this baler, we haven't got any knives on this particular baler, but can you go through some options that we do have with our cutting unit machines?
Okay, so yes, this baler comes in 2 configurations. It can be either a cutting baler or a non-cutting baler. As you were saying, this is a non-cutting baler. So a non-cutting baler can't have the knives fitted to it. However, a cutting baler can be utilised to both be a cutting baler and a non-cutting baler. How we achieve that, we remove the knives out of the system, but still use the same feed rotor. What happens with the knives, they tend to come up through the middle of the two feed lugs on the rotor, and that's how we achieve a nice fine slice. With the knife system, you can choose to have no knives. You can have 7, 8 or 17 knives selected. There is an option on some balers to go to 26 knives if you really want a very fine chop.
So you mentioned before greasing or oil for our chains and stuff. Do you want to run through, just show us the tank and how it's operating?
Okay, so this tank is our reservoir for our oiling system on this baler. How this works, it has a continuous flow pump, which is located in the back behind where the net sits. Okay, what happens whilst the baler is running, it's continuously delivering a small amount of oil to every chain on the machine. A lot of balers that are on the market don't run that system. They rely on when you open the tailgate, you give it a shot of oil and that's it. Not enough oil for our conditions here in Australia.
That's pretty much it for a walk around the machine itself. So we'll just go through the actual operation, like from the cab perspective of this machine. What comes standard? So if you haven't got an isobus system or a screen up in the tractor that this can hook into, what options do we have from a Krone perspective for a monitor to be able to control?
In the Australian market, most of our monitors are like the CCI 800, which is an 8-inch screen. You can option them with the CCI 1200, which then puts us up into a 12-inch screen. That's if you don't run isobus. You can use these machines on an isobus tractor. They are isobus compatible, but if you don't have isobus, don't stress. We have the monitors and the cabling to make it fit your machine.
For the floor on the baler, Brent, do you want to run through some options for if we get a blockage or an overflow machine? What's the advantage of this baler?
Okay, on this baler we have the drop floor system, which opens the throat of the baler up to clear blockages. The other thing I do like about this baler, we also can disconnect the drive and the feed rotor if you do get a blockage and continue to turn your chamber to wrap a bale. I don't know how many times you have something go wrong, you block a baler and then you can't do anything. When you open the tailgate, you've just got this lump of product in there that you've got to try and pick out by hand. So by being able to disconnect the intake on this machine and wrap the bale that's in the chamber and get rid of it, it then allows you access from in the chamber to look at the other side of that feed rotor and clear the blockage. Most cases, when you do get a blockage, stop the machine or pause on the row, lower your drop floor, engage your PDO. You might have to do it 2 or 3 times to actually get the blockage to clear all the way through. Once the blockage is clear, you raise your drop floor back up, engage your forward gear and away you go, continue baling.
One other thing I just might quick mention is like I said, you mentioned our camless pickup. So with our straight feed roller on here, how do we achieve, is that a very good system for picking up like lighter material, heavy crops?
Yes, it is. This is more so what I would classify as a hay type machine. If you're in lumpy rows of like damp silage or heavier product and you're trying to bale it, Krone offers a wave formation on the pickup. Now the beauty of that is it helps loosen and tease that row out to give you a more consistent feed. Couple that with the design that they use on their feed rotor, which feeds the product back out to the edges of the machine. That way you get a nice even flow into the baler from the sward, and then once it's in the chamber, it's pushing it to the outside to give you nice firm edges on those bales. Really good if you're trying to wrap them at the other end.
On the density on this baler, Brent, do you want to tell us about, so ideally you want to be getting as many bales as you can per hour out of this machine. So traveling at speed usually affects the density of a bale that you're doing. How does Krone still maintain a density and bale shape traveling at higher speeds than usual?
Okay, so the devil's in the detail. It starts with the pickup. Obviously being a camless pickup, it runs a faster forward speed or a faster reel speed. That provides more product to our feeder. Our feeder's then running at a faster speed as well to make sure it clears what you put in that pickup. Our chamber we run at a relatively quick speed as well. That gives you more revolutions per minute of every bale. So by doing that, we maintain density as our speed increases.
That's going to maintain our edges and our shape of our bales as well as our density coming through. Awesome guys, that wraps up our walk around of our Krone VariPack baler. So this is our belt driven one. We do have some other options available. So if you would like any more information, or if you have any questions on things that you're unsure about that we've mentioned or talked through here today, please reach out to us on the comments below. We're happy to help you out. Otherwise, you're more than welcome. Give Brent a call up at our Central West branch up at Bathurst. Be happy to help you out with any baling or any Krone questions that you might have. Thank you.